What's up, guys? It's George, and in this video I want to share with you about the truth about the phone flipping business model, at least a different side of it from from what you'll typically hear about. And so I flipped phones and electronics for over a year, and so I have a good amount of experience in it. In fact, in my first month, I flipped over $5,000 in phones. And how I got into it was due to social media. If you look on YouTube, see tons of videos about how much money you can make flipping phones, and some of them can be kind of misleading because you'll see all these videos. College kid does $10,000 in his first month flipping phones. College kid does $10,000 flipping phones without even a car, or guy does, while working a full-time job, does $15,000 a month flipping phones, and what you don't realize about that, it seems pretty appealing. Wow, guy does college kid does $10,000 a month flipping phones, is a couple things. Number one is that's not all profit. Just because they flip $10,000 in phones doesn't mean that's all profit. Realistically, they probably only made after all expenses and everything, probably only made anywhere, from $2,000 to $3,000 profit. So that's not that great of a profit margin. And to do $10,000 a month, you really gotta hustle. That was like a milestone, a great milestone to get to in the phone flipping community, was to get to $10,000 a month flipping phones. You really had to work your tail off, and advertising all the time, doing pickups all the time, and it was quite an achievement just to get to $10,000 a month. But really, like I said, that's not all profit. That's that's just revenue in and out. And so that's one thing about it, that the profit margin is not that great compared to what I do now, which is flipping test strips, which I like in medical commodities, which has a much higher profit margin. Now, another thing about it, makes it seem like it's such a simple of a business model, but really it's not. It is simple, but there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. And one of the things that was frustrating about it was all the things that could happen down the road. See, you get these phones, and then you got to sell them on eBay, which is a whole nother animal in itself and a whole nother ball game. And things can happen down the road that you're not even expecting. You can get customers that can, that'll get the phone and then they'll break it, and then they'll have it for a week or two. They'll drop it, they'll crack the phone, and then they'll claim that you sent it to them in the mail like that, even though you didn't. Even if you took pictures of it and videos and sent of you packaging it in the thing, doesn't matter, because eBay's gonna typically side of the buyer and buyer protection, and so you can easily lose out a lot of money and have to refund them when they damage the phone. Or what also happens sometimes, that they'll get the phone and they'll swap it out for, they'll get this $500 phone from you, and then they'll put in a headset and then, return it back to you. And it doesn't happen a lot, but that does happen sometimes, where they'll try to scam you on eBay, and next thing you know, you call up eBay and they may take the side of the buyer. Sometimes you can get them to take your side, but it's still a headache either way, having to go back and forth. And sometimes you can lose out on a lot of money that way from a buyer that scams you, or they claim that they didn't get it. Obviously when you're selling phones and things like that, you want to pay a little extra to make sure the signature upon receipt, so that way for sure that they got it. But there's all these little things that when dealing on eBay, that these customers will do to try to scam you, that you don't think about. And sometimes even the customers will come back months later, even if you didn't have any return policy or a 30-day return policy. There's been situations where the customer will come back 3-6 months later wanting to return the phone. Due to all kinds of weird scenarios. And then sometimes eBay will take their side in that case, which is crazy, even when it's 3 to 6 months down the road. And so, you may think like, all right, you know what, I made, $1,000 profit for the month flipping phones because you sold $5,000 of phones. And then the next thing you know, you got, all of a sudden in one day, you can get multiple customers that want to return their phones. And it's like, what? And then you got some that are trying to scam you and dealing with all the headaches that, it's just like, oh, you didn't think about that. You thought you were done. You got the phones and you sold them on eBay. No, you got to deal with, returns and customers trying to scam you on eBay. And so that's just another piece to the puzzle that you don't really think about. And of course, eBay and PayPal's fee is, can add up and be quite costly. All of a sudden you get that bill 30 days later and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't realize about, that expense that I was going to have to pay for, selling these phones on eBay. Now, another thing with the phone flipping business is that there's very few, repeat customers. You're going to get some repeat customers, but nowhere near like in the medical commodities business that, that I do and that I teach is that, you get a lot of repeat customers. But in that business, because people aren't buying phones all the time. You buy a phone once every year or two. But, it's not like test or medical commodities where people are getting them like every month. And so, you're doing a lot of work to get just like a one-time customer that you may never hear from again. So very few repeat customers, and you got to be marketing all the time. You got to be placing ads like crazy every single day. And if you let off the gas at all in placing ads, then, the phone just stops ringing. The leads stop dead in their tracks. So you got to be constantly marketing like crazy all over the place to try to get those leads. And then when you're getting those leads, then it's very competitive because, there's so many people flipping phones. It's such a competitive arena. I mean, even eBay now is competing with you. They're buying people's used phones and everything. And so, and there's phone stores all over the place that buy used phones. So you have a ton of competition. And so you got a lot of people that, they're like, they know the game. And so that, you're getting all these leads from people that are just trying to nickel and dime and find the person that's going to give them the most money. And it can get frustrating all day long dealing with all these leads, quoting it, everything. And then all of a sudden they're just calling the next person, the next person. And it's like, and then they're haggling. You set up appointments with you, and then they don't even show to the appointment because they found somebody else. They can give them $10 more for the phone. And that does happen. And so, you got to be, real aggressive on your prices. And that also cuts in the profit margin because you got to be competitive because a lot of these people are, price shopping around like crazy. We're in the medical commodities business. It's not like that. There is a little bit of competition, but not near as much. And a lot of people, have never, like I today bought, a whole bunch of boxes of test strips. This guy's been a diabetic for many years and he didn't even know you could sell the test strips. And so it's not like the same type of thing where, in that bit, in the phone flipping, most people know they can sell their phones for cash and they can be quite competitive in wanting to get the most money for their phone, which I can't really blame them. If I was in need of money and had to sell my phone, I'd probably try to get the most for it as well. And then another thing about it is that when you're meeting up with people, it's more of an interesting situation because one, you gotta have them fill out a whole bill of sale form and sign the bill of sale and show their ID, which a lot of people don't want to have to show their identification. They're sketched out about it. Who knows how they even got the phone? And so next thing you know, they got to sign this form and fill out this form with their address and their ID and everything. And people, don't like that. We're in the medical commodities industry. We don't have to do that. The deals are a lot quicker. And then also when you meet with them, you got to test out the phone. You got to turn it on. You got to check the serial numbers. You got to make sure that it's not a fake phone because that does happen. I bought a fake phone one time. It looked so legit, but ended up being a fake phone. I had to file a police report about it. And a lot of the deals when you're meeting up, for some reason, it just always felt shadier and sketchier. Now, it'd be more like nervous meeting up with people to do these phone deals. Just something about it where I don't get that. And, flipping test strips and the medical commodities, it's just not like that. I don't ever get that, like, gut feeling that's just like, like I'm meeting up with someone shady. But in the phone flipping, it was always kind of like that. You're meeting up with a lot of shady characters, and just something about it. It's just more of, I mean, I knew people who had guns pulled on them over flipping phones, had tasers pulled on them, and knives, got robbed, all kinds of things. So it's just kind of a different situation, and you're putting a lot more money on the line, for one deal. You go to buy one phone, you're paying like $500, and you're putting all your eggs into that one basket, hoping that, and you get home and you're hoping that you bought, what you really think you did, and it doesn't end up turning out to be a lemon, and that there's something that you didn't oversee, that, I overlooked that, oh great, it's internationally blocked, or Apple iLocked, or something you just, maybe had an off day and you just forgot to overlook something. There's so many different variables. And so you're putting all your money into this one, all your eggs into one basket to secure a phone, and then you gotta, then you're praying that it can sell. You sell it on eBay. Next thing you know, it's not selling as quickly. You got to keep lowering the price because it's competitive selling these on eBay. And next thing you know, you end up breaking even or just making barely a little bit of profit after everything you had to go through and putting your money on the line and everything. Where, for example, if I buy $500 if I buy $500 in test strips, then it's going to be a whole bunch of boxes that I bought. So it's not like I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. If I got just one or a couple bad boxes out of the whole batch, it's nothing. I'm still going to make a lot of money off of that deal. So it's a lot more comforting knowing that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. You got a lot of boxes, and so you're good. And so those are all just the the various different things that about the phone flipping business model that you don't really hear or see about. And this isn't to completely knock the phone flipping business model, because sure, you definitely can make a lot of money flipping phones and electronics. Sure, there are people who are making six figures doing it, but they got to work their tail off to do it. Got to be constantly advertising. It's a stressful, line of work, and the profit margin really isn't as great. One of my friends who I respect a lot is a true hustler, but he posted on his Facebook. He's a beast in the industry. If he does happen to watch this video, I got nothing for love for you, but I'm sure he won't because he's super busy. But he posted how he did $500,000 last year flipping phones. But then he, in the comments, he said how really, only 150,000 of that was profit, which is incredible. He's a beast in the industry. That's someone who's like a legend in the industry, and only $150,000 profit. If you were to sell 500,000. If you were to do $500,000 in business, in the medical commodities business, you'd easily be making $250,000 to probably $300,000 profit. So, about double the amount of profit for way less headaches, a much simpler business model, and not having to deal with all the headaches, flipping things on eBay and dealing with all the electronics and technology and all the other different things that I just talked about. So I just want to share about it. Hey, not knocking anybody that flips phone. You can certainly do it to make a quick buck, to make some good money. Who knows? Maybe I will get back into it again someday. It's a good business because it's there if you need it. If you need quick cash, you can. That's how I got into it. I was in a point where I really needed money fast, so I got into it. Did $5,000 in my first month, but and after over a year of doing it, just got kind of burnt out in doing it. But you definitely can make money. I know if I started placing ads tomorrow, I can pick up a whole bunch of phones tomorrow and flip them. So yeah, it is a business that's probably always going to be available for those who want to pursue it. So not trying to knock it completely, just wanted to share a different aspect of it, and tell you that from someone that's been in it and had a lot of experience doing it, that there is a simpler way, which is what I recommend and which I teach, which is flipping medical commodities. Check out the link in the description to learn how to build a very successful business flipping medical commodities. And if you do already have experience flipping phones, great. It'll be an easy transition into that. Or do coaching one-on-one with me. Pretty much everybody that coaches with me gets results super fast, is making money right away. And so so get the course or do coaching with me, and I'll see you on the other side, guys. Until next time, let's make it a great day, a great week, a great month, a great year. Let's make it a great life. See ya.